So to create the web, or for example the rib function, we need a planar sketch, and of course maybe we actually want, no, that's the question you have to ask yourself, do you want this one to be flush with those corners, or for example do you want the web already be, or do you want those ribs already have half the distance of my blade, kind of like an offset to the inside, so where we start creating those ribs, the blades will perfectly rest on it. So we can maybe do that. So I'm going to measure for the moment the length of maybe this edge, which is 1 millimeter. So that means I have to create a sketch plane that is offset by half a millimeter. So I'm going to construct offset plane. You see here my origins. By the way, in case you don't see them, simply turn them on. I click on this one and minus 0.5 millimeter offset. Okay, so now there you see that's the bigger plane. And onto that plane I'm going to create a sketch, not onto the original origin, but on the plane I just created. Good. Then let's go to right view. And for example, I'm just going to create a line. I think to have my grid. Yeah, I had the grid turned off. I'm just creating, for example, this line. And let me show you what happens here. So let's rotate the view a little bit, finish sketch. And then let's go to rib. Let's select this line, maybe 2 millimeter. And that direction isn't correct. So let's go to here and go to rib. 1 millimeter. Flip direction up and down. Yeah, and sometimes it's a little bit annoying. Gets confused with the directions. Let's use web actually. 1 millimeter. And there, for example, you see it understood the direction I want to use. So basically it takes this line which we created, and you see it adds the material thickness of 1 millimeter, and along how could I say that, it goes from surface to surface also there and perfectly fills this one in. So I do not have to create the solids, trim, cut, whatever. I simply use this feature this way. Works perfect. So maybe for this web, actually I would like to create more lines. So I go to edit, and for example here, see, I'm going to simply use the grid to make it strategic positions, those lines every second grid point. I make these lines, and probably this hopefully should be enough. Let's see. Stop sketch. And okay, well, obviously I have to update which edges I would like to select. So here, so on the Mac side again, I click Command and hold it, so I can select all these different lines. Okay, let's hide the blade. There it is. Very easy and pretty fantastic. Now actually what I did here is complete, it works, but it is in terms of casting complete nonsense, because I create a small included area that later is going to be a major pain. So there I'm going to adjust everything a little bit. So cancel, go to edit sketch and turn the snap off. You see I have a constraint. All these lines have to be horizontal. I delete this line constraint by simply clicking on it, and then you see I can by hand, for example, move those lines. So maybe here I start to simply place these lines by hand, copy and paste, make another one here, there for example, and no, this one goes to there. Curious. Oh, actually, no, they will not intersect too much. So let's see. Yeah, I have another small cavity here, not cavity, small area. Because think about it, if this is, let's say, injection molded, you have to be able to push it out. Those tight corners you want to prevent, and we don't even have any draft, for example, added yet. So draft actually takes those planes and adds a little bit of a draft to it. So later when you pull it out of the mold, it's going to be easier. Okay. Now, for example, this area is pretty fragile, so I could go ahead and go to edit and say this one, copy and paste, move one down here, paste, there. Oh, every time I have to click OK, paste, OK. Now this is actually internal geometry design, so this is nothing that has any aesthetical function or purpose. This is really purely for stability reason. So this stuff doesn't have to look pretty, it should be functional. That's the most important aspect. So maybe I leave this one this way, okay? And of course, those lines are not being used right now, so I can go ahead. Whoops, wrong one. Edit. Press the Apple key and then select all these lines. I can't drag over them. I thought I could. Maybe 2 millimeters, a little bit more. Okay. There. So another nice, awesome feature of Fusion is I actually can click this edge of the sketch and move it. And you see then it's updated. So those sketches, I cannot add lines, etc. to it, but I can click on those sketches and I can even, for example, here, well, this one has a constraint, so I can't really rotate it. So, but hold on 1 second. Let's go to edit sketch, and for all those, for example, I delete the horizontal constraint. Let's go back, and there you see I can rotate it. And I have to say, this is a really nice way to work. So this front area doesn't really have a lot of pressure. I mean, of course, this area probably might, but that's the reason why this is also out of metal. So it's out of plastic. You would have to do some tests to see if it could break. But this basically should function as a demo for how to create those internal structures. Okay, that was basically, yeah, nearly everything for it. There's only one minor thing missing. Our blade actually is a little bit too big. So I have to cut out a small space there. Now I have to see how I do that. Do I actually make a cut so the blade is really perfectly added, or do I add a little bit of tolerance? Because currently here I made those with 0 tolerance. So if everything would be out of metal, this might be a little bit tricky, because who knows when you cast the part if actually the cast doesn't shrink a little bit. But again, that's why you have the product prototyping, to figure those elements out. So I should have added a small tolerance to it, but for the sake of this one we didn't. And maybe in this case, to make it quick, I go simply to combine and say this blade and this object, But you know what? I actually do that not here. I do that actually here, where it maybe makes more sense. There. No. Never mind. Nope. Yep. Just ignore what I said. We can do it here. Combine U minus. So target. No. Oops. Wrong one. This is my target object. This is my tool object. And instead of join, I would like my blade to cut out. But actually, I would like to keep my tool, so my blade will remain as an object. So if I remove this one, let's zoom in, and there we see that tiny corner it actually cut out. So that's a part that was needed. Now, another possibility, for example, would be to change the blade or to make a slightly bigger blade so we have a bigger volume. Or what I could do now is actually this face I push down. So let's see, with the press and pull, I can select this face. And I'm curious what direction this one is going towards. So I'm trying to rotate my view. Yeah, so this looks actually as a perpendicular normal to that face. So that means actually I should be able to now push this one slightly backwards. No, didn't work. Say cancel. Let's do this one more time. And let's say 0.1. Okay. Yeah, this created an interesting shape that I do not want. So I was just curious if maybe when we pull this one back, if actually this whole kind of like triangular part grows and gives a bigger space. It did not. So there's probably currently then nothing else here actually we could maybe do. Let's take a look actually at the blade. So there. And actually I could maybe try one thing. So what happens if I select this one and just move it? Okay, moves it forward and backwards. Okay, so that, for example, could be a possibility. So here, let me go to here at the end. So I'm structuring my design a little bit. Let's delete this one. And then my blade, I'm going to make, should I make a copy? Yeah, I'm going to make a copy so I always see the original blade as well. So copy and paste, position it. So there's my blade. And now could maybe, if we move this one down, so if this face is moved down, yeah, that could actually also work. So two ways we could do this. We could either move the whole object slightly down and then cut, or for example I could move this face, move it down and cut. In this case actually I'm simply going to move this secondary object. So here, this one I'm going to select, and then I'm going to move. Now I have to figure out the correct orientation. So maybe here, this for example I think looks good. So this direction, maybe 0.2 millimeters, 0.5, maybe a quarter, because I don't want to cut too much into my shell. Okay, and then I go to combine and say this part minus. Now I have to be careful which object I'm clicking, so this one, cut, and do not keep the tool. Okay, let's zoom in and let's take a look if this one worked out. Yeah. Oh, I see. My huh. I think the objects are not perfectly lined up. I thought my blade and everything was lined up correctly, so let's double check. So here's this edge, this edge. No, they are actually. So you see this cutting corner and this object corner, they all line up perfectly. So I don't necessarily understand. Let's go to there. Oh, you see, I moved the object in slightly. Okay, so let's go back to here. This one I delete. And then let's go back to another, in this case actually here, let's go push and pull. But only that particular face, so select nothing. Don't select this one. Don't understand why everything is selected here right now. Okay, there. Good. Push and pull. And let's go to here. And let's see when we add actually a 1/4 millimeter, which direction it grows. Does it do the same on the other side? Okay. I guess then I have to do this actually simply with both sides. Makes sense. And Apple click this face as well. No, it does it. Okay, no, this is actually way too much. There, yeah. 0.5, 0.7, and let's maybe keep it there. Okay, so you see I had those two faces selected, and then I went to the push command and it only selected the first face, so I needed to Apple select the other face. Okay, now we can go back to U minus done and show me the other object. Do we have a gap? And we do have a gap. Now the question is, are these gaps perfectly parallel? Yeah, looks so. Perfect. It also really makes sense to start naming at least your components, blade and handle. I wouldn't necessarily spend too much time on naming your blades while you're still working, because sometimes the commands change actually how those objects are named. But for example, for construction, that doesn't necessarily change. We can, for example, name this one, so we know this is actually the offset construction plane, which we used for putting the blade rib sketch onto. And under sketches, you see blade support, the ribs, section views, right and left. This really helps you actually at one point to keep an overview about your design and how you structure it, and also all the different steps, for example, you're doing. And the same, for example, you also can do here. So for example, this one I could rename into, let's say, blade offset. Let's say 2 months later you come back to this file. Do you really understand all the different steps you did? Probably not. So this actually really helps. So if I go to here, it says combine whatever. Here it says blade offset. Copy and paste. For example, here I could say, we could call this one blade copy for cutting. And enter. So it starts making sense. I mean, the rip or the web here is pretty self-explaining. Here, for example, this one we could rename into blade positioning. There. Shelling. Oh, we do it once now. Makes sense. Okay. Now, this way also, at one point, it's easier for you to start understanding how you did all those design features, or what you actually did inside your design timeline, and what certain functions are doing. The other way to keep an overview about what you're doing, you see whenever you move your mouse over a feature, it very often highlights actually the part. So this is actually also very helpful to understand what, for example, what feature is doing inside your design. So let's take a look at how maybe we can make some basic keys that can help us to actually secure those two shells when we print them out into each other. So we can, for example, put the blade in, and then well, yeah, have the ability to maybe test drive it, cut it, and have those two sides not really fall apart inside our hands. So there are different ways how you can make keys, and also different quality levels. This is right now just plainly for prototyping, so we can actually approach it in a little bit more simplistic way. And basically what I need is somewhere here I need to have some cylinders added to it, and then actually the same on the other side. We make a copy, and then one side will get a male and the other will get a female feature, so they intersect. Okay, so we start with a sketch on this plane, or basically orientation, and let's take a look at where we have not too complicated geometry. Now for this very basic key, I'm going to simply use circles, and maybe I will start one circle here. Let's see, maybe 15, so 1.5 centimeters. Okay. This one I would like to move up a little bit, maybe, I don't know, maybe to here. Okay, let's select it, copy and paste. Let's move this one up, maybe one to here. Let's, oh wait, no, let's go to here. And I would like to see my blade, so copy and paste. Let's move one to there. Okay, so you also see here, by the way, there are dimensions, but actually in here, if I type in 10, you see it actually changes really that dimension. It's constrained. Very difficult for like solid modelers. Let's click OK. And now I have to figure out how, for example, I could create the cylinders, stick them out, and then actually try to make sure that they don't completely stick through. So that's actually maybe going to be a little bit of a tricky task. So first let's go to model, let's go to extrude apple and apple click, and maybe pushing those out sufficiently, maybe till there. Let's say like this. And don't cut, just create please a new body. Okay. So let's see, where were those added? There, there, there. So for example, for the moment, I could, for example, call this one key if I want to, but as I mentioned before, those names will change when we start working anyway, so I don't spend time on that. And let's go to this view, and you see one of the main problems. Because this is a very organic shape, it's going to be a challenge to find a depth where those cylinders really sink inside the shell but don't penetrate it, but also don't leave any cavities, which is why I just simply built them so big. And now I would like to see if maybe I could use this shell to cut those cylinders and then actually maybe join them together. So I'm going to split body and say body to split, so you and you, splitting tool. Now hold on, let's do this one more time, because this body was bluish. Splitting this part. And hold on, no. Let's see if maybe we can do it with this surface and this surface. Oh shoot, see, with surfaces you only can have one surface, unfortunately. So okay, in this case, let's try to see if we just have to do with the body. Click OK, and let's see what we have. We have quite many bodies here, so that's a fragment. That one we leave. That one we leave. Fragment. Relief, fragment, fragment, fragment. Okay, so those two, let's move them up. Move them up. And those 6 actually, let me delete them. They're not really gone, as you can see here. They just inside the timeline got deleted. But if I go back in the timeline, they're back. Okay. Now all those I couldn't, for example, I can create a group. And now I don't know if the surfaces are they're sitting on each other, if this is actually enough, for example, to simply join them all together. Yeah, it did. So I didn't need to intersect the surfaces. Great. So this is actually pretty nice. So let's take a look at what we have. So you see also those cylinders go right to the side. Now the next thing I have to figure out is how to make the male and female part. So let's see. For example, this one now I call key. Let's go to the right, escape, and maybe here I'm going to use the offset command. I'm curious, can I do it with all at the same time? No. So 2, 3, and let's say 3 millimeters. Right mouse button up. to the inside 3, right mouse button up to the inside 3. Okay. So now this is going to be actually the tricky one, because I need to make a copy and then mirror that part over, and then for one add, for example, the stuff, and for the other move it out, or remove it. So let me see which flow works maybe the best. So let me save for a moment. I want to play around a little bit and then show you a good strategy. Okay, so what I figured out, maybe for the moment, is a doable solution, is simply we're going to create ourselves a mirror of this half part we worked on. So select this body, this one, the plane, this one, and now we have a new body. As you can see, that's a complete body. So what I'm going to do, don't laugh, I'm going to split this body. So I selected plane here, cut, and now here actually I have two bodies. So you see I have the original from the first split and now the mirrored part with those ribs built in. So what's the advantage? You know, one thing actually, if I change the rib on my half, this other mirror part will get updated. So think about all the interactivity, how you could automate tasks. So what I can do here now is actually I go into extrude and say this circle and this one, move in, I don't know, let's say 5 millimeters and cut. Okay. Hide it. Let's go to this view and let's go to extrude 1, 2, and 3. Minus 5 millimeters. Oh wait, no. That was silly, because here I'm going to extrude those out, because those are my keys now. Okay. Now, considering this is going to be printed on the MakerBot, I don't necessarily know how perfect those keys are, so we might maybe have to adjust the offset here a little bit. So you see when I go to push-pull and go onto this one, and I could say maybe minus 0.2 or 0. It's a pretty slow process right now, but does it work? Yeah, I think it did it a little bit bigger. Let's undo the step. Yeah. So that's one way how to do it. I could actually also go back to the original sketch. So for example, this extrude I delete, go here to this sketch, edit, and then actually I do another offset. This one, just 0.1, maybe, oh, I'm sorry, 1 millimeter. No, I don't know, 0.25. The MakerBot can't be so unprecise. I don't really know the tolerance right now of the printer, so I have to guess here right now, to be honest. 0.25, 0.25. So the process I'm showing you right now in general, just in case you're curious, that's also more kind of like how you then work for engineering. So Alias very much is about sculpting and all the stuff, and you see this gets a little bit more technical. So No, let's go to extrude, and then this one, apple click, 5 millimeters, join it out. Let's hide the sketch and try to see if this one body, yes. So when I click it, all those parts are there. So for example, we could call this one A and B. Let's turn on the section view. Let's take a look. There you can see. Let's show our blade. Oh, where's our blade? Oh, I guess the section view clips it out. So maybe let's go to edit. Let's rotate 180. There we see it. We can also rotate the section view this way. And if you now want to print the design on the MakerBot we have inside the lab, you can, for example, I Apple clicked those two parts, go to print, 3D print, and for example, now we have different, like a mesh preview, or for example, refinement, send to mesh mixer. That's what I want. So let's click OK. Then it sends it actually to mesh mixer. There's our part. So what do we do? First, we have to rotate this a little bit. So let's click transform, go to rotate, and here I just clicked on the flip because it's 90 degrees, and move it to the platform. Let's maybe move it to there. Okay, and that was actually the female one, so let's go to the male one, which is that one. Okay, let's click it, 3D print. Okay, and I do not want to replace, I just want to append, so I'm adding this part to it. There it is. I can click those different shells. Also here, let's rotate it, move it to the build platform. Is this one actually, yeah, it has a small space in between. Okay, let's move this one a little bit away. Then it's done. And then, for example, we click on send to printer, and then in the MakerBot printing software we basically select the material, I hit print, get a coffee, some cookies, come back in an hour, and this one will be printed. And literally that was really everything that is there to how to transfer an alias design to Fusion, and how to, for example, add all those internal features. Now this was a rather long introduction, but actually I think this was pretty good to give you upfront an overview about all the stuff, kind of like what Fusion is really fantastic at. You can also create this complete design in Fusion. It's, in my opinion, not as comfortable right now as in Alias, because Alias is a perfect surface modeler and Fusion is a perfect solid modeler. A lot of the stuff what you can do in Fusion I cannot do in Alias. And in my opinion, there's no way and no reason to force everything in one app. Use each app what they're perfect at. But on a side note, I have to say, for example, the patch command here right now is still a little bit empty, but they're adding more and more details to it. So question is, at one point maybe you could replace a surface modeler and just do everything right away inside Fusion.